1 minute, 30 seconds, and 10 seconds will be indicated like so. When your 10 seconds are up, I will show the stop card and say the word stop. This will mark the beginning of the Q&A period. After the 10 minutes end, I will raise the stop card and say stop. Good luck, and you may start when you're ready.
Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. We'd like to thank you very much for being here today, taking a little time out of your Saturday to spend a couple minutes with us. We know you probably heard a whole bunch of information already, and don't worry, we're going to throw a little bit more at you, a couple numbers, a few graphs. But if you're going to remember one thing that you hear today, I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this conversation. Us, the students, and your company, Big Steel Box, making a connection and building a relationship. With our recommendation, you're going to be able to do that, not just with us, but with hundreds of students within the university and across Canada. My name is Megan, and with me today are my colleagues Jeremy and Askar. Together we are Jeremy Consulting. We are so excited to show you how we plan to move Big Steel Box into 2020. So, in our analysis, we've kind of identified one core issue that your business is currently facing. We've looked at Big Steel Box has kind of been unable to create a sustainable growth strategy for gaining new customers moving forward. This sounds a little bit scary, but what this looks like to us is a huge opportunity for growth. All that means is we need to find a new market and a new niche to target and bring Big Steel Box into new areas of Kelowna. So with that core issue, we've identified a couple symptoms that have been happening as a result. The first of those being is sales are slowing down. You've told us this explicitly, so that's one of the big symptoms that we've identified. Secondly, the industry is highly saturated. There are a large number of different storage facilities within Kelowna. We all know that competitive advantage lies in the mind of the consumers. We know, and you know, that Big Steel Box is the most innovative and effective way to store things. But if the consumers don't know that, they have no real reason to choose Big Steel Box over other storage facilities. And third, again, as I kind of mentioned previously, we're lacking a sense of direction in terms of strategy. But again, all that really means is a huge opportunity to find a new market.
Yeah, definitely. So getting into some of the external analysis, some of the external pressures that we found, they affect you, they affect us, they affect everybody in the industry itself. The first being residential housing markets are falling. People are spending less money right now, they're moving less, and that's affecting our bottom line. And so moving forward, we know that we are on the top right now, and with 20 years of experience, that's awesome. But we've also noticed that the market is highly saturated. Traditional companies are coming in, new box companies are coming in, so we need to keep these two things in mind moving forward. And then getting into some of the possibilities that we have. The first possibility being that Kelowna is the fastest growing city in BC. All those Calgary Flames fans are flocking to Kelowna to come vacation, and we want to be there waiting for them, and we want to be there moving solutions to that. Next up, large university population. UBCO is growing at an exacerbated rate, and because of this, more and more students are wanting to move. And we got to keep that in mind when moving forward. We actually did a survey over the last few days, and we found that 54% of students have actually said that they have or will use storage or moving solutions going into the future. And then coming into some of the vulnerabilities, we know that you have been in business for so long, and there's a reason for that. But we also recognize that there are some weaknesses that we could improve. The first being the website. When we first landed on your website, it was a lot of information very quickly. And we thought that from a consumer perspective, this might not be ideal. And we want to hopefully address that moving forward. Next up, missing out on key marketing opportunities. Like I said before, students, they're coming in numbers, and also retirees too, looking to downsize. The number of retirees is going to be going up too. And now getting into some competencies. You guys have been in business for so long that your core competencies are defined and they are pronounced. The first being dual competencies in moving and storage. Obviously, you are the best storage solution in Western Canada, and we want to continue that trend. Next is strong core values. We have 6 strong core values that you guys stick by, and that makes you different from the rest of them. Having fun, having employees that matter, giving back to the community. All of this is what we want to bring forward moving into the recommendation. And lastly, large networks of offices in Canada, 19 locations with 6 satellite locations. You don't do that by just running a willy-nilly business, right? So there's definitely some competencies there.
So, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, we were actually lucky enough to gain some pretty interesting data from the survey that we did, and this allowed us to create a pretty interesting customer profile of kind of what our ideal customer looks like. So, with that, I would like to introduce you to Jeremy. Jeremy hails from Calgary, BC, and he actually lives just up the hill here on Academy Hill. During exam season, he's a bit of a disaster. He's usually super focused on his exams and doesn't think about packing until the very last minute. Usually his last day here looks like him trying to give stuff away to his friends, throwing stuff away, and sometimes even calling his parents to come help him haul stuff back to Calgary. Jeremy needs a low-cost, efficient solution for his packing needs, and we believe that Big Steel Box is that solution. So, where do we focus? Now, getting really in depth into the recommendation, we've identified 3 key priorities that we want to focus on every step of the way. The first of those being diversifying our customer base. This goes right back to our core issue. We are looking for a new market and we want to diversify into a new space that we haven't tackled yet. Our second being maintaining our core values. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin in this recommendation. We want to make sure that your core values are exemplified in every single thing that we do. And our third, maybe the most obvious, is profitability. Yes, we want to have a little bit of fun, we want to give back to the community, but at the end of the day, what we want our recommendation to do is make your business money.
Yeah, so based off these three focal points, we actually developed 3 different alternatives, and I'm just going to go through them quickly with you right now. The first was focus on B2B sales. So basically, 40% of our business right now is commercial sales. With the residential sector down, it's easy to see that we could transition into a more business-to-business sales perspective. However, we found that diversifying our customer base, this doesn't really diversify our customer base as much as it bolsters our existing customer base, and we want to expand. We have money to spend, we want to expand as fast as possible. Maintenance of core values, we rank that as low because going B2B, we kind of miss out on those residential opportunities to make connections with people and to help people out throughout the process. Lastly, profitability. We said profitability was about a medium. Bolstering those commercial sales are good in the short run. However, once the residential market starts picking back up again, we don't want all our eggs in that one commercial basket. Going on to the second alternative here, eastward expansion. We heard you guys say that you have money to spend and that you're looking to possibly expand to places such as Toronto, Ontario, Manitoba, different markets, and diversifying customer base. This is a good solution to diversify that customer base. Maintenance of core values, however, it would take a definite dip. Spreading ourselves too thin means that customer service, we can't keep up with that same customer service that the community has grown to love about us, and that's why maintenance of core values is very low. Profitability, that's a medium. Obviously, it takes a lot of money to expand out, and it also takes a lot of risk as well. And so profitability is a medium in this situation. So going into our last alternative, the Big Student Initiative. And so the Big Student Initiative is to focus on students, provide students with clear storage solutions moving forward. And for one, diversifying our customer base, that hits it completely. Expanding into new segments such as the student market is exactly what we want to be doing right now. We want to be differentiating ourselves, and that's how we're going to do it. Maintenance of core values, it's still providing students with cheaper alternatives to storage solutions right now, and better alternatives and flexible alternatives is maintaining those core values of giving back to the community as well. Lastly, profitability. The student population is growing throughout Western Canada. Many students are flocking here as a destination to come and study. And so in the long term as well as in the short term, we see that profitability with this option is definitely a good thing.
So we conducted a survey among students and find out that they would use moving and storage services for that is convenient, affordable, and flexible. So most of students would choose that, but about 40% of them, they don't have a vehicle to drop off their belongings. So it's a great opportunity to reach this students' money.
Yeah, definitely. And so what does this whole Big Student Initiative actually look like? We've kind of divided up into three primary plans. The first being the Big Student Box. So we're going to take a big steel box, get a co-op worker, get a co-op student engineer to come work on that and to make it into a modified group of storage units within that one box itself. It's going to hold about 20 different students' belongings in it. And then we're going to then partner with Beta, Mission Group, and UBC SUO to sell them these boxes, or to rent them out to Beta, Mission Group, and UBC SUO. Of course, they have some monetary issues in the summer as students start to go away, so having a supplementary source of income for them would be definitely something that they would be interested in. And it also gives students easy and affordable storage. If I'm a student and I'm in exam period, I don't want to be making 3 trips down the hill in my buddy's pickup truck just to get my storage into a locker. I want that right there, right on my property, so I can literally take the elevator down with my stuff, put it in, and leave it. And I can do that at my own pace as well. Next, website revamp. As I said earlier, the website needs to be changed. User-friendly interface is going to attract more of those students that want the technology. It's also going to be search engine optimization. One of the things that we actually asked our survey respondents is if they've heard about Big Steel Box, where have they heard about Big Steel Box? And we actually found that only 12% of the 26 people that answered that they have heard about Big Steel Box found them via search engines. And so that's a very small number, and we want to bolster that for sure. Lastly, Big Donation Box. So this is our big CSR initiative for this plan, and Big Donation Box basically encompasses sending a donation box down to around the campus area during April and during September as well. And when students start to unpack and pack it up, we want to be there if they want to throw stuff away. Instead, just donated clothes, mini fridges, even bedding as well. We can take it all and then we can send it to Goodwill or Value Village, somewhere that will make sure that the community gets it. And then, so looking at some of the financials of the Big Student Box. So the cost of the box that we would charge for the partners, UBC SUO, Beta, and Mission is $2,000 per box for a 4-month rental, and that includes us bringing it to the site and then taking it back with us. And so for the price for students, we suggested that our partners give the students about a $50 per month price. This is very fair considering that the average in the Kelowna right now is about $80 per month. And then if there's 20 students per box, that means our partners could be making upwards of $2,000 per box that they manage to fill.
Okay, so it's good to talk about this stuff, but we need to have some pretty specific plans in place if we want this to actually happen. So we split up our implementation into 3 distinct phases, and I'm going to get started right away here with the big structuring phase. As you can see, our timeline starts right in October, so we want boots hitting the ground as soon as possible. With our first action item here, we want to start having meetings with Beta, Mission Group, and the SUO, kind of to start cultivating those relationships. Secondly, we want the agreements signed and drafted kind of by the end of October there. The $20,000 we've allocated there is more for legal fees for those contracts, so that's kind of what that looks like. Moving on from there, we want the website development again to start in the beginning of October, so that way when students actually start looking for us, kind of end of December, beginning of January period, the website should be completely up and running. We've allocated about $16,000 there because we are looking at contracting an outside web developer. And then our 4th action item here is actually hiring an engineering co-op student to make the physical designs of the boxes. We believe this is another really cool way for you to enhance your core values and really give back to the community. We've allocated about $20,000 here for an 8-month term to design those boxes. One key performance indicator that we've figured here for this phase is once the website is fully developed and we have implemented our search engine optimization, by the end of February there, we're looking for about 10,000 new impressions on the website. So next, moving into the big action phase. It's called the big action phase for a reason. You can see it's a pretty tight timeline, March to April, but don't worry, we have all the action items in place so you can get it completely finished. So our first here is we want to have the box design fully finalized by the end of March there. So again, that involves our engineering co-op students. That $30,000 there is part of the engineering co-op student salary as well as some different production costs. Moving on, we want the box production to start. We'll start in the beginning of March there, kind of making up some mock-up designs, and then by the beginning of April having them completely finished. The $10K there for labor and different production supplies as well. Moving on from there, one small action item is just finalizing the list of customers from Beta and Mission Group. So this will allow us to put a really succinct and efficient system in place for students to actually move their stuff in. They will each have their own individual locker, and this will just make sure that we're able to plan effectively for that. Moving on here, we actually want to set up the big donation box at the beginning of March. We know that some students maybe don't have exams and they'll be moving out at the beginning of April. So we want that big donation box to be available for them as well. So we'll set that up at the beginning of March. We've allocated about $3,000 there, which is just the physical price of the boxes as well as a little bit of moving cost there. And then, of course, students start moving in at the beginning of April. That $1,000 there is just cost for your company to move the boxes back and forth. So pretty low there, and yeah, that's a pretty high importance action item. So in this phase, we've identified a pretty key performance indicator, and we want the budget for the production of the boxes to not exceed $10,000 that we've allocated there, with functionality checks in place. So by the beginning of April there, we want to make sure that these boxes are fully functional and fully effective for our students without exceeding our budget. All right, so after everything is said and done, we want to move into our third phase, the big growth phase. This phase is where we're really going to look ahead and see what else we can do with this project. Our first action item here is with our partnership with the SUO. We're hoping that Big Steel Blocks will be able to attend the Expo Day where a number of different businesses and clubs are actually present on campus. We've allocated about $1,000 here just for different promotional materials. Second is we want to evaluate the success of Big Student Box. So after our students have moved their things into the boxes, we're going to send them a customer satisfaction survey, which will allow us a little bit of room to kind of see things that we can fix for the following year, as well as invest a little bit into some research and development. That's what that $10,000 works for. And then we want to look at assessing the viability of the Big Steel Box at other locations. So we know that you have a large network of locations across Canada, such as Calgary. Those are also very university centered towns, so we believe that this would be a very viable option to expand across Canada. And fourth is we want expansion opportunities for the big donation box. So this could include in Kelowna as well as your other locations. We're thinking here, as you can see in our timeline, maybe in December, that's a really big time for donations, setting up a box downtown. Again, all that's really going to do is enhance your reputation within Kelowna and build that really good customer service reputation that you already have, just build on top of that. Again, the $1,000 there is just the physical cost of the box as well as some moving costs. One key performance indicator for this phase is after Expo Day and we are handing out promotional materials, we're looking for about a 35% increase in website traffic. Again, the search engine optimization is really going to help out there as well. One more KPI for this phase is we're looking for about 80% of returning customers from the previous year. Again, we're going to get some really, really good feedback from our customer satisfaction surveys. However, we're going to know that we really hit the mark if we have about 80% of our students returning.
Yeah, so moving into some of the outcomes, looking onto the horizon a bit further along, the ability to expand to a number of different universities and university-centered cities, Victoria, Edmonton, Calgary, these are all prime destinations, and we want that Big Student Box initiative, if it is successful, to be expanded outwards. Moving on to our second outcome here. So maintaining core values by expanding the donation boxes as well. Big donation boxes will also kind of come with that Big Student Box as well, and we kind of want to expand that out as well to maintain those core values that are so precious to us.
So overall, after we've said everything we have to say, we hope what we've really brought to you today is a simple solution for Big Steel Box moving forward that includes not only your core values but includes the community and includes a completely new market that's really going to help with that growth sustainability problem that we mentioned. Thank you very much, and we would like to open the floor to questions.
Yeah, I just want to start off saying you guys absolutely killed that. Like, I feel like this is definitely a winning team right here. I also wanted to just give you guys a shout out. I put a bonus mark on here just because you guys actually did your own survey in person. That was super cool that you guys did that. Question on that survey is, how many people did you survey? I think you said 26, but I don't know if that was the total number. And also, what was the age segment? So like first year, second year?
Definitely. So we actually managed to get 42 respondents throughout the 2 days that we surveyed. We did not actually ask about age. However, we do have a kind of rough estimate. They are 17 to 25-year-olds. So that student population is kind of encompassed by that.
Yeah. The only reason why I was asking is, it's going to be a difference between a fourth year who's probably going home for good and looking for a second year. So
Definitely, yeah. Something to keep in mind for the future.
This is a bit of a two-part question. Could you go back to your timeline slides? Actually, a question about the new, I think the student big box, you're calling it. Considering. Okay, so is that kind of what a model is going to look like?
Yeah, definitely. So that's kind of what our pricing model is kind of looking at right now. That $50 per month we kind of found through our survey. I think about under 50% of these students said that they would pay upwards of $50 to $70 per month for the solution. And so $50 is a fairly reasonable estimate. And that also gives our partners some extra cash, and it gives us some extra cash too. One thing that is not on this slide is the price for those modifications and the box itself. We kind of calculated that to about $1,500 per box. So if we're selling those for $2,000 for every 4 months, we're looking at about 25% margin on those two.
Okay. So now, my understanding is that it's one box with a bunch of
Yeah,
lockers
so-
in it.
Yeah.
for each-
Here, I can show
Yeah,
you.
sure.
We do have a little bit of a mock-up here.
Yeah.
So the idea is, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, yes. Kind of the idea is we'll have 5 units on one side, 5 units on the other side. This is for a smaller one. For a larger one, it would be 10 and 10. And this gives students about a 4x4 space. So again, that's perfect just for like a mini fridge, maybe some extra bedding, potentially like a couple books, things like that. That's kind of what we're thinking, especially students up on Academy Hill here where the units are mostly finished. That's mostly all the space that they'll need.
Okay, and just kind of thinking from a liability standpoint, what happens if one student's belongings get stolen or damaged and it's on Vita Group or Mission Group's property? How are you gonna handle that possibility of them being liable or you being liable, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the reasons why we did want to partner with Beta and Mission is because we didn't really want to be liable if that whole security thing does fall through. However, we do believe that security is our number one priority in making these boxes, and we would make it as secure as possible. In addition to that, we also have our ERP, our Enterprise Resource Planning system that we actually just got. So we can also utilize that very well with this recommendation as well.
Forgive me if I missed it, but how do we decide how many boxes we're going to produce for the first year?
Yeah.
Definitely. So our projected, if we want to jump to the bottom of the appendices, so we're projecting that we're going to make about 10 boxes in that first initial run, and
Sorry.
I'll just wait till
This is
a
like
lot of
this is actually a tactic to slow down the question period.
yeah. So sensitivity analysis is one up there. Just like one up.
Oh, sorry.
Perfect. Yes. So sensitivity analysis. Yeah. So we went to mid case, best case, and worst case for this. The mid case was if UBC SUO bought 4 because they have the largest number of buildings, and then Mission and Veda each bought 2. So bringing the grand total to 8 boxes in that 4-month frame, which should be reasonable considering we do have expertise in modifying boxes. And so we're looking at about a year 3 break-even point, year 3 to year 4 in best case, worst case, and mid case. And so yeah, that's just a question.
Yes, very well. Thank you.
So you talked a lot about the website sort of being a key factor for your market awareness, student awareness type things. I want you to be a little more creative though. I mean, you guys are students yourself, websites, yeah, I mean, that's the old guys up here, we can come up with that idea. What other things would you want to do to really type up Big Steel Box or the Big Student Box
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
campus?
absolutely. So one thing with the website is, I know you said the website, let's talk a little bit more about it, is we want to split it up to commercial users and residential users. So that'll make it a little bit more user-friendly for both groups. As well as having a little bit more Big Steel Box presence on campus, we think is going to be a huge part of it. There's no marketing like face-to-face contact, so we really think having Big Steel Box representatives on campus during those really key critical move in and move out times is going to be a huge sale point for us. As we mentioned with Expo Day as well, handing out promotional materials is going to be a really big thing, as well as potentially creating a different Instagram page. We know that that's huge with our generation. So there are a couple different avenues that we've looked at there.
Okay.
That's
And then just to clarify, so if I go up to Academy Hill a year from now, the idea is that there's a couple boxes up there parked 12 months of the year in the parking lot or something like that?
No, so the boxes will only actually be there from April, so during the month of April when the majority of students are moving out, possibly into May as well. And then after those are fully full, depending on how Veda and Mission wants, where it wants those boxes to go, we can bring them back to the storage facility and then return them in August and September. So the students are ready, it's ready for them, they can kind of unload it right into their rooms. And then the other 8 months of the year, that was one of actually our risks is what would we do with these modified boxes the rest of the 8 months of the year. But we do believe that we can find different uses for them. We also think that creating the modified box for disassembly, so it can just be turned right back into a normal steel box, would also be a viable option for that too. To kind of eliminate that 8 months where not a lot of students are using it.
Question.
Yeah,
I think you guys did a good job. What I missed there is integration into other parts of the business model of this company. This is one standalone. So how does this integrate into the Big Steel Box business model in general?
Do you mean like with the commercial aspect as well and like the different
I want you to
users?
lifetime customer value.
Okay.
So how does it integrate tactically
right.
and strategically?
So we actually do believe that that getting those students to use Big Steel Box early on would actually be very effective. When those students start moving out, they start looking for their own homes, they'll remember, oh right, Big Steel Box, I remember that presence on campus. I can now use those for all my other needs, right? And so it's really kind of just making that impression on them. And so later on, when they become that single family looking to upgrade their home, they'll remember Big Steel Box.
And next thing is how does it integrate into the current business model?
Definitely. So I think it integrates fairly well into the current business model. We do want to diversify, and we do want to make sure that in comparison to other storage and moving alternatives, we are the number one. And so with that, we have to expand our markets, right? So just touching on those students is definitely one of those key, foundational. The word evades me, but foundational, I guess, pieces in that whole business model.
Go on, ideas and coaching. So based on what you know of the company, and apart from what you just said there, which is nice, but it's noise, what is the way this is going to integrate into the business model, what they're currently doing to complement it going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So the current business model is that they provide an effective, easy DIY way to store all your stuff. You can do it at your own pace, it comes to your house. That's their business model. This is exactly what we're providing for students. We know that this is scalable across the country to different university cities, but we also know that this concept is scalable to a number of different things. One thing that we talked about during our breakdown is we know there are a number of summer home communities in Kelowna, and they're going to be packing things up kind of when they go back to wherever they live for the winter. So this might be a really good option with the segmented boxes to bring to kind of one of those summer home communities where people that might not want to purchase a whole box just for themselves and can kind of split that cost with a number of different people. And we think that fits right into the business model.
So you guys want to use 15 seconds?
That's
Good? Okay. Start the back.
Start saving money.
No, we're would be pressed by time if you stay on time.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, thought you guys did awesome, like you guys killed it. Super cool to see you guys kind of keep in line with the core values. We do a lot of like charity events, a lot of donations, stuff like that. That big donation box is super cool. We just actually did that at Superstore like last week for the Salvation Army. So really get to touch on that. Yeah, so what I would probably recommend is maybe looking a little more at the cost associated with it, with actually getting the boxes there. So with the company, like who, if these boxes are going to Academy Hill, who's going to eat the transportation costs and stuff like that? Like it'd be a good idea to maybe look at that a bit more, as well as the cost for the rental. So you said 4 months is $2,000. So that's $2,000 to
That's
the group, right?
Yeah, to Mission
Yeah,
Development, yeah.
And
Okay.
they can then go sell it for $50 a month.
Not doing it.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I would maybe look at those numbers just quickly again. That's like $500 a month to rent. It's more like $200. That's actually what it costs. So I would maybe take a look at that, maybe touch on like who's going to eat the cost, maybe look at that you guys were talking about like where it's going and stuff like that. But I think you guys did super stellar, also with your background research. I want to say if you guys know the founder's last name, I'll give you another bonus there. Jay, you know it? The family's last name of the founders, just because I feel like you guys did a lot of research. So
I think I knew at one point and now it's just, can't think.
I don't know.
Negative marks.
fair enough. No, it's all good.
Zeros.
It's all good.
Okay, yeah, I agree. You guys did a very good job with the presentation. Logan spoke, came to the front, and he made eye contact, had a good volume and tone, and a good pace, so I thought, well, that was good. From a presentation standpoint, one recommendation I would make is maybe have ASCAR, is that how you pronounce it, more integrated into the presentation. I think they only have one slide, so I prefer to see it a little bit more balanced amongst all the group members. Yeah, you know, I think a lot of the stuff that I like to see was in there, and you were pretty numbers focused, which I think is good. Big steel box is going to want good illustration of how much exactly this is going to cost them, and you even went as far as making a sensitivity analysis to showcase exactly what your projections are, best case, worst case, which is, you know, fairly advanced in terms of accounting and showing that, so I thought that was very good. Also, you addressed us as the clients as if you were actually the consultants, so I thought that was a good